Okay, folks, we are live on the air here for the Radical Undoing first time ever Google Hangout, the Command Z Radical Undoing Google Hangout. So this is our first time using Google Hangouts on air. I did another regular Google Hangout before, but I haven't done the actual Hangouts on air until now. So I'm pleased to be trying it out. I see already from the light. We're going to close that down a little bit. Okay, that's a little bit better. Okay, how are you guys doing? And let me know. We want to get the questions and answers going. So you guys can submit your questions by clicking on the Q&A icon. And then I can answer them live. So go ahead and type those in on the upper right-hand corner. And then from there, we will proceed. So I'm going to start out with some stuff that I've prepared, but hopefully you guys are prepared to diverge from that as we go. As topics come up, or as thoughts and inspirations come to mind, we may veer off in various different directions, but hopefully you'll see how it all comes back to the same central point, and that point is, again, how to initiate effortless change in your life using Radical Undoing. Now we're using the term Radical Undoing for a collection, or a suite, if you will, of movements, concepts, ideas, and tools, and the way that I see Radical Undoing maybe a little bit more expansive or different than the way my teacher used that term, or the way some of you guys might be used to using it. I think of it as a process, sort of like Jeet Kune Do, and you learn the process, and then you incorporate new and different things that you discover that make the process more efficient. Now, what process is that? The process of getting out of your own way, breaking apart chronic tensions, habitual reactions to life, habitual reactions to your emotional states, emotional experiences, okay? Habitual ways of categorizing and judging what you're seeing, feeling, thinking, hearing, and so on. Okay, so we want to undo that stuff, get that stuff out of your way, okay? And then from there, start to flow with what's actually going on in your life, okay? What do I mean by that? I mean exactly what I said. Flow with what's actually going on in your life, okay, as opposed to the ideas you have about your life or the expectations that you're waiting for your life to live up to, or all the if-onlys. If only I had this, then everything else would be okay. If only I had that, then I could be happy and enjoy what's going on, okay? That doesn't mean you don't have preferences or choose things that you want to move toward or move away from, okay? It just means you're not waiting for happiness. You're not waiting on a particular set of circumstances to make it okay for you to take action, to make it okay for you to enjoy what's going on, to make it okay for you to be aware of what's actually happening and moving in conjunction with that, okay? Which, moving with what is one of the easiest things you could ever do. The problem is, if you can call it a problem, we stay loyal to tradition. And by tradition, I mean the same ways of thinking, the same ways of reacting to emotion, and the same ways of participating in your life. Let's see. So now, before I dive into any more concepts and tools, and we're going to do actual tools that we can use right during the actual experience here, and this will also be recorded so you can revisit the exercises and concepts later. And what you might notice is they change and expand and grow in depth and breadth of experience the more you repeat them, the more you try to pay attention to what's actually going on when you're doing the exercises or exploring the concepts. Let's give this some more light. Let's see how that works. Okay, so you make adjustments, make things better as you go, more suited to what you want. Okay, just like now. So I noticed it was a little bit shady. And then when I had the shades open, it was aiming sunlight directly at my eye. And now decided to open it completely. Now that may seem like a simple and ridiculous thing for me to mention, and maybe it is. But you can learn something from that. I don't have any expectations for how this is going to go. I know it's something I'm trying out that's new, and learned a little bit about it ahead of time and just dive into it. Made some mistakes along the way. It started to seem really complex and difficult to understand how all the moving parts fit together toward what I'm trying to communicate to you guys. But I knew I'd be able to figure it out, so I read a couple things, put it together, and now here it is. Okay. Now anything you want to do is the same way. And if you start and then you notice, wow, it's a little bit dark, or the light is kind of weird, like it is right now shining on my face, well, then you can make adjustments as you go. So I can just slide over here a little bit, and then we've got a better light cast on the situation. Makes things flow a little bit more easy. But now if I was getting all tense and upset and worried about the lighting, then we may not be able to get to the material or to the stuff I wanted to share and communicate with you. So, when that happens, you just make adjustments on the fly based on what you feel, what you observe going on, and then you can just flow with your life. That's all you need to do. So you make adjustments along the way and not be afraid of making mistakes, because those actually help you recalibrate towards what you want. That's the only way you have data to know where you want to go, is by knowing where you don't want to go and then moving your way out of that. And it is as simple as just opening the shades or making simple little changes along the way. Okay. All right. So for those of you joining us, I haven't figured out quite yet how to allow you guys on to the show. So I'm going to try to do that to see if I can bring you guys on for live questions and answers. So let me try that. Okay, so let's see here. Can we bring anybody else on? Okay, no, we muted the camera. Now we're coming back. Okay, well, I'm not going to mess with it too much. But if you guys have questions, you should be able to ask them over in the question side. I have that open. So if you ask a question, try typing it into the Q&A. So for those of you watching, if you want to try that out, go ahead and type in any questions you have already, or even just type in why you're here, what brought you to the show tonight, and then we'll get on to the first concept and the first tool, even though we've already explored some things you could use and apply right away in whatever situation you're facing. So happy Sunday, folks. Again, welcome to the call. And we're about to dive into some concepts and some tools. But you guys can feel free to interject questions and comments along the way about anything you want related to Radical Undoing, Command Z, and so on. So if you guys are watching from the event page there, you should be able to click on the thing that says Q&A right up on the top right-hand corner of your screen, and that'll bring up a question box. So if you want, go ahead and type something into that, and let's see how that works, and then I will answer your questions. Or twist them around and feed them back to you, depending on the question. Ask a nice question, maybe we'll have a great answer for you. Okay, so again, the topic here is how to initiate effortless life changes with Radical Undoing, or with Command Z. The other topic, the other title and topic of conversation was how to dive into your life with Radical Undoing. But I'm not sure that's exactly what you're looking to do. But life change is something that almost everyone wants at some point or another in their life. So Let's look at how to initiate effortless life changes with radical undoing. The basic premise of the whole thing is that change, and by change I mean flow, things flowing, coming and going, movement, just like a nice hike. Change is inevitable in your life. Okay, everything about you changes and grows. The physical body, tastes, everything about the entire environment is growing, changing, dying, passing in and out of our awareness, and passing in and out of existence. Okay, so change is inevitable. There's nothing you can do about it, but often people get caught up wanting to change some particular aspect of their life, usually habitual emotional reactions, health concerns, work, the way you're spending your time. We just say that instead of just work, but the way that you're spending your time in general collides with the way you would like to be spending your time, okay? And then the way you're experiencing emotion. So all those things generate a desire to change your life. So what I'm positing here is that there's no way for your life not to change, but if you adhere to traditions and habitual reactions, and by tradition I mean something you inherit that you believe has importance and value in your life, and then that I just saw a question come in and I got a little bit derailed, and I will answer that question momentarily. From Brendan. Welcome to the show, Brendan. So yeah, adhering to traditions in your life. And what are traditions? Traditions are, much like holidays, things you inherit that you find or believe to be full of meaning and value in your life, and so you repeat them sort of automatically based on the fact that they've been going on for a while. So you adhere to keeping these traditions alive in your own life experience. Traditions like reacting to certain events and experiences with the same emotional reaction. Okay, so getting angry every time someone drives in a way that interferes with your trip. Okay, if someone drives in a way you don't like, you get angry, get all pissed off and move around and shake and say, rattle off a bunch of obscenities and, have a generally aggressive time. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, there's nothing wrong with any kind of emotional reactions, and maybe that's often why they last so long in people's lives. If there is something inherently bad or wrong about them, it might be even easier to change. You might have more motivation to change them. But again, we end up wanting to make changes to those things. So what I'm proposing is that by breaking the adherence to the traditions in your life, you allow yourself to open up to what's actually happening and going on in your life, rather than trying to force your experiences to line up with your ideas about what's going on, okay, and your expectations of what you want to be happening. Okay, there is a solid point of focus in your life that you can gain access to and stay aware of, and in so doing, the flow and change and experience of your life can move in a smoother and more enjoyable way. Okay, but you can also, through the process of doing this undoing type stuff, expand your ability to enjoy, to include everything that's going on. All right, that's a controversial point for some reason, but one that I return to over and over in my own life. Whenever I convince myself I'm a victim of something, which now has become pretty clear when that happens, even though the old mind is a wonderful youthful trickster, which can be a beautiful thing. But the idea is break the hold of those traditions, pay attention to what's actually going on. Don't turn yourself into a victim of circumstances. Instead, calling yourself a victim of circumstances would be like going to a movie that you knew that you'd already seen even once before, and then you go to see it, and then you complain to the people who run the theater that you're pissed off about one of the scenes that's taking place in the movie, that you're very upset by it, and in fact that you're victimized by it somehow. Although you paid to be there and willfully sat and watched it, even though you knew what the movie was ahead of time. Okay, that's often how people are interacting with situations in their lives. They feel victim of them. Let me give you a good example about adherence to tradition and ways that you can start to see outside that and to watch how your life actually flows. Okay, and that judgment is a form of clinging to tradition, which means a habitual way of looking at and interpreting experiences, raw life experiences. Okay, so you look at a situation in your life you might call negative. So, for example, a close friend of mine here recently got fired from his job. And it was over a performance review. In the previous review he had gotten, he said he's doing fine, he seemed to be getting along with everybody. Everything about the job was going well. There was no reason for him to suspect that he was getting kicked out of there, getting fired. But one day, they called him to the office and fired him. And at that point, he needed that. In his mind, he needed that particular income for a certain amount of time, or things were not going to be okay for him. So, and the job was unpleasant for him, but he'd gotten used to it and was okay doing it. But it was unpleasant. And even though he had committed to doing it for 5+ years. So he started looking for other work, applying around, and again, looking for work in a way where he thought, well, I'm choosing the least miserable thing I can find. That was what his top-end aim was. But he ended up stumbling into becoming a postal carrier, carrying the mail. And it ended up suiting him and his personality just so perfectly that just saw him last night, and he said he was just laughing, and he's like, I'm so happy I got fired from my job. He was so happy because it opened the door for this experience where he had applied. He got the job as postal carrier, was thinking like, well, it'll be okay. Hopefully I can do it for a while and find something better. And then when he went out to start doing the job, he just fell in love with it. He has a great time doing it. Okay, so had he clung to the idea that losing the job was the end of the world for him, he may have helped to create or set the table, set the circumstances for that experience to be the end of the world for him. Okay, but instead he let go, did some undoing, and took action toward what he wanted to do, and then found that he ended up in a position that was much more enjoyable, exciting, and enlivening for him, life-affirming for him, than he had, and even better than he had committed to in the past. So in a certain way, his experience of reality, or whatever you might call it, opened up for him in a way that we would typically judge as negative or harmful or unpreferable, as painful and uncomfortable. So he got fired from a job. For some people that feels like the end of the world, but it could actually be an opening in, well, it inevitably, okay, inevitably it is an opening into something else, okay? So we're going to get into some concepts and tools that'll demonstrate this point to you in your actual experience. All right? It's inevitable that you're going to lose things. In fact, you're going to lose everything, everyone, at some point in your life. And then also it's inevitable that those things, that what is, continues to be present for you in your life. And it's filled with all kinds of different things. All right? There's never a lack. You're never missing out on anything. It's impossible to miss anything, okay? Pay attention to those simple but important points. All right, so now before we dive into the tools and concepts, again, I want to point you guys, there's a question thing. You click on the Q&A over there, and that will bring up a little area for you to type in questions. So we've got 2 questions from Brendan, so let's handle those first. And just so you guys know, Brendan is a client, a long-term, awesome guy, great artist. If there's a place on here, Brendan, for you to post a link to any of your art, feel free to do so underneath the viewer, or later on the YouTube. Go ahead and post it in the comments if they allow you to do that. Maybe on Google Plus that you can do that. I'm not sure the rules for the comments, but anyway, Brendan is a client and an artist, an all-around cool guy. And he had a session today, so I'm going to read what he posted in the questions there. Maybe you guys can see them there as well. Hey Garrett, great session today. Just woke up from the craziest dream, which I'm guessing was triggered by today's session. In the dream, I accidentally committed a huge mistake, murder, which eventually led to the release of a giant, raging silverback gorilla intent on revenge. I like that dream. Anyone care? Anyone here want to type into the questions? Your amateur dream interpretation? We could dive right into that. That would be a fun one. Again, in the dream, he accidentally committed a huge mistake, murder, which eventually led to the release of a giant, raging silverback gorilla intent on revenge. That's a beautiful one. Huge mistake, the murder, maybe some of the killing of the false selves, which of course are composed of our ideas about ourselves, which again are traditions that we keep reaffirming every day. It takes effort and energy to keep reaffirming and making yourself the same person that you expect yourself to be. But it's familiar, so we're okay making all that effort. What happens is you stop making effort in that way, stop clenching all your muscles, and what happens is that allows your creativity to automatically flow. It allows you to be inspired by what you're seeing and experiencing, and allows you to feel moved by that experience in whatever way makes sense to you. The way you'll know that it makes sense to you is, number one, it'll make sense. Number two, it will feel more effortless. It'll flow more smoothly, and you'll be more of a participant in the experience rather than something you're forcing yourself to do. Oh, cool. And we got the link to his art. You guys should all check that out. I'll click +1 here if that will let me do so. Okay, so that's in the, I don't know how this appears to you guys, but it should be in the question box, and you'll be able to see that. So check out Brendan's art. All right, so if you guys have any dream interpretations, like I said, the murder, the mistake would be maybe that's the attacking of the false selves, okay, which are ideas, held intentions in our bodies that keep us repeating our habitual ways of interacting with our experience in order to give a feedback to our brain that makes us think things are stable, unchanging, and familiar. Simple as that, really. That's the motivation for keeping on doing them, is familiarity, which leads to a sense of comfort, even though it's a false sense of comfort. It would be kind of like setting up a tent to protect yourself from people with guns, for example. Before the end of the dream, the gorilla had vanished. Yeah, maybe the gorilla is you, and then before the dream, waking up, the gorilla had to disappear, just like your awareness in the dream. That might be a way to think of your flowing life, stepping in. The gorilla might be a larger sense of control or power. Like if you walk outside right now, any of us, myself or anyone watching, walks outside right now, walk down the corner, you don't know what you're going to find. There could be anything going on. You don't know what you're going to find just around the corner. It's completely mysterious, and you're unable to know until you walk down there and find out what's happening. Okay, and so anything could happen. Something could happen that changes your life in an insane way, like you lose a leg or something. Or you could meet someone who ends up giving you $1 million for this idea you've been thinking about for the last 10 years, and it just pops into your life, and now you have it. Okay, so the gorilla may represent that sense of, this greater sense of power, like how is this thing, this field of experience working in relation to my seeming individual unit that's experiencing it. So stepping into that, you know what I mean, owning this experience of your reality, then can feel like losing control, it can feel like a larger source of power, since it seems unknowable from the perspective of our minds. Now that's a trick, and we'll get to that a little bit later. Okay, the idea that it's unknowable is kind of a trick, but a fun one, so we'll cover that a little bit later. All right, so Let's see, that's what we got. Anyone else have any questions? Go ahead and feel free to type them in anytime throughout. You'll see the little Q&A up on the top right. So again, bring our attention back to how to initiate effortless life changes with radical undoing. Again, the idea, simply, you break apart the binds of tension that are going on chronically and under the radar in your muscles, and by doing so, you bring more awareness to your body, more flow of blood and oxygen and life force in your system, and then also more direct and clear observation and awareness of what's actually going on in your life, in your field of experience and awareness, okay? And that becomes more dominant naturally. Your awareness of what is becomes more dominant than the world of expectations, ideas, fantasies that you have going on in your mind. Even though that ticker tape of thought may still continue, it doesn't have the hold or the meaning that it did, okay? Something to keep in mind. All right, so now I'm going to dive in a little bit with some concepts and tools, just alternate back and forth between those, and we'll do them on the video here live, or if you guys are watching this as a recorded video later, do yourself a favor and follow along with some of the physical exercises. Okay, so concept number one, which we've already been getting into, so I won't go into it too much more, but if you guys have comments or questions about it, type them on in there. And if you are watching this as a video on the website, then you can even just type new questions and comments right down there in the comments section, and I keep an eye on those and I'll respond to them there. So again, concept number one is change is inevitable. But what is it that remains consistent? That's a question to ask yourself. Change is inevitable of all things, and yet something remains consistent under that. And we'll get back to that, but you guys can think about that, and if you have an answer, you can type it into the questions box. Now I'm trying to figure out if I can add any of you guys to the actual situation here. Oh, here's a group chat, so we can also use that. Hey guys. So we just became aware that there's a chat there, bringing that into our awareness or screen share. And I was just trying to figure out how I can add the rest of you guys. So let's see. And if anybody knows, you can go ahead and type that into the, let's see here. And there we go. Oh, how nice is that? Okay, so let's go ahead and turn that off. Any questions, any answers about that? What is it that remains consistent? We'll open up the chat window here. Okay, so we'll answer that in a little while then. Tool number one that goes along with this is face stretching. Okay, so some of you guys have probably seen this or tried this before, but tonight we're going to try it again. And what the idea is with these exercises is that every time you do it is the first time you're doing it, so that you don't fall asleep and become habitual about doing the exercises that you're using to become not habitual. Let me turn on the light here. Okay, so face stretching, and the why of face stretching, before we get into the how, is that there's a whole bunch of brain matter dedicated to monitoring your face, in particular your mouth, your tongue, your jaw, but then also the eyes, the muscles around the eyes, and everything in your forehead, cheeks, and so on. So there's more brain matter dedicated to monitoring your face. There's a disproportionate amount of brain matter dedicated to monitoring those areas than there is monitoring most other areas of the body, with a few exceptions, the hands and the feet and the genitals. So with the face, you can start to twist and move your face in all different directions really slowly and while you continue breathing, okay? And the reason you do that is to break apart habitual ways of moving and using your face, which then breaks up the habitual ways you have of experiencing emotions and reacting to emotions. Okay? So by breaking apart all these tiny little binds, in the beginning what you might feel is some extra anxiety. Now another way to say that is you feel more life force in your body, which again just translates to more awareness of your body itself and maybe some tingling or aliveness in it. Okay? Just like when your legs fall asleep, as we call it, then when you stand up and bring them back into awareness or change position and allow the blood to flow again into your legs, you feel very aware and alive in those areas as the awareness comes back. But then, of course, it falls back out of awareness again as you go about living your day. So what we're doing here is bringing the face into conscious awareness. And what that does is allows you to drop and relax the face muscles, which then stops sending a feedback loop to the brain, or feedback to the brain, which creates a feedback loop, all right? You're breaking the feedback loop of, I feel angry, and then the brain goes and checks out this area, yep, that's anger, we recognize that from before. And you just end up in a chain reaction feedback loop that's never ending. So we use the face stretching to break that chain, get more relaxed, feel what's going on in the rest of your body, and then be clear and be able to observe what's going on in yourself and around you and with other people, okay, rather than being lost in imagination, lost in fear, lost in reaction land in your mind. Okay, so by becoming more aware of what's actually going on, you can choose then to enjoy more the texture of what's happening rather than be lost in judgments and wishing for something else. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Now you're going to experience it in action. So just go ahead and do this along with me. What we're going to do is start by moving the forehead slowly up and down. And then you start moving the jaw left and right. And you can keep moving the eyes in different directions. The idea is that you continue breathing while you're doing it. You can say ah if you like. Deepen the breath, deepen the relaxation. Now notice I'm including the cheeks and the nose and the lips, tongue, the jaw. Eyes continue moving. And you might notice you're tensing up your shoulders or your chest or your legs or arms. Just go ahead and adjust to that. Become aware of it. Let it relax. Then you might notice the more you become aware, the less you have to do to relax yourself. Okay, you don't have to do relaxation. You can just let it occur by becoming aware of the tension. So that's an important principle there, even though I'm saying it funny. By becoming aware of the tension, it relaxes on its own, okay? So you just keep twisting and moving everything, all different directions. Remember the eyes, left and right, up and down, round and round. Another way you can do this is stretch and move your face, hold it in a specific position. Keep breathing. And take a full deep breath and say, ah, and let the entire face relax. Couple more breaths. And start to move it again. And make another face and hold it. Tight as you can. You get to look and feel really funny. But don't worry about that. And take a deep breath in, make it even more firm and tense. And then Let your face relax. Okay. And then in between each time we do an exercise, you want to just sense and feel what's going on in the area you worked and in the rest of your body. So you close your eyes, take a deep breath. Feel what's going on in your face. Now for me, I feel that there was some rigidity in the forehead. You can go ahead and massage places that you felt were a little more rigid. Anywhere you don't notice or don't feel, touch that too. Okay? Just bring awareness to these different parts of your face. You can move your scalp around a little bit. Okay? So that's the face stretching. That goes with concept number 1, which we said was change is inevitable. Okay? But what is it that remains constant? So since none of you have typed an answer to that yet, I will tell you. What it is that remains constant is what is. In the past, I've called this the flow of experience. Okay? I've called this the constant thread of awareness. But all it is what is. So even though things appear to be changing and moving, what is always stable, and you can always find out what is by just checking out what's actually going on. And one of the ways to become more clear about what's going on is to do those face stretches like we just did, and then look around. So what's funny is now right when we finished with the face stretching, it started hailing outside, and I find that pretty enjoyable. It's nice to see. Now just before that, there were people out walking with t-shirts on and that kind of thing. So as we said, change is inevitable, but what is always there and there for you to observe. Okay, it never goes anywhere. What is just consistent, and you can ground yourself in it. Not that you're ever out of what is, okay, but we can play a game in our mind that makes us think we're not there with what is. Now I'll bring us back. Again, the whole purpose of this talk or this call tonight is how to initiate effortless life changes with undoing, with radical undoing, which again we said is a suite of concepts and tools, an ever-expanding suite, like we said, and compared it to Jeet Kune Do, meaning you learn some basics that give you some big wins, some nice experiences, and some tension relief and different bonus side effects and results right away. And then you can go deeper and deeper into the process, become more and more aware of how you're following tension traditions in your body and staying rigid and tense. And we get some of those from parents, we get some of those from society and schooling, and we take on some of those ourselves through our own life experiences. So you can do things to break those apart and then open up into new experiences in your life. Okay, so change is inevitable. What is remains constant. You guys can probably hear the hail. I wish I could show it to you. It's actually quite remarkable. Let's see if I can on this live broadcast. Forgive me for being rather random, but let's check it out. Maybe you can see the hail starting to accumulate on the sidewalk. But it's rather large at this point, and even more exciting. Exciting hail than I've seen in years. So let's continue. The next concept on the list for today is that things only appear to stagnate in your life. Okay, things only appear to stagnate, but stagnation isn't real. It's just, again, that there are traditions in our lives that we cling to, such as staying at the same job forever, or acting in the same way at your job than you have as you have in the past, or reacting to people, places, and events in habitual ways. Okay, these things include telling yourself, hey, I'm not an artist, I'm not a writer, I can't do business, I don't have anything valuable to offer anyone. You know, various little lies we tell ourselves about ourselves. I'm afraid to talk to people. I'm shy. I've always been shy. You know, all these repetitions are just more traditions, tension traditions that you uphold by taking your memories and applying them toward the imagined future, and then restricting yourself to only pay attention to and be aware of experiences that confirm your memories and your expectations for your life. Okay, so it's just a limited scope of what's possible, and you just keep kind of acting in that scope. But by breaking apart the tensions, then we become more aware of what's actually going on, ground ourselves firmly in what is. That's the initiation of effortless change in your life. You just stop clinging with tension to all the old ways of seeing and doing things. That's it. And know that you'll learn what you need to learn along the way. Okay? Life is a constant process. Okay, so tool number 2. Now, something that just comes to mind, we'll just break right into that. I said life is a constant process. So imagine being on a road trip and trying to make it the perfect road trip, trying to make everything about it perfect, like the way that you navigate and the way that you turn, and you're driving through a town on following your navigator, and as you're driving through town, you see off in the distance a huge festival, which is something, say, let's say, that interests you. Is this type of festival, and you can see from the distance that it's there welcoming you and amazing, but because you're trying to have the perfect road trip, you won't go over and check out that festival that's there. Okay. There was a time actually when I was hitchhiking through Canada and got to Winnipeg, and there was it was so funny. We stopped to get some free food they were handing out at a huge grocery store. Walked up and had like a free hot dog, believe it or not. And in that line, some guy was like, "Oh, you guys are from the Eco Village, right?" And I was like, "We're not even from this country, but." No, we're not going there, you know. And then we started walking again, and we had no idea what the Eco Village was, but we started walking down the highway, getting ready to hitchhike back into the U.S. to go to Minnesota. And someone else came and pulled over next to us on the road and said, "Hey, you guys are going to the Eco Village, right?" And we were like, no, and they drove away. Kept walking. And now, as we get closer to the border, still a ways away, another car pulls up and says, "Hey, you guys are going to the Eco Village. Get in, we'll give you a ride." And we were like, "Okay, yeah, we're going." So we decided to go over there finally. And then we got to the Eco Village. This was in the morning, I think on a Thursday. And at that point, it was just so amazing what we experienced at that village. It was just beautiful. It wasn't something I was looking for. You know, there were animals and beautiful outdoor canopied sleeping areas, you know, places to set up your tents, and like a burned down cathedral type church and half a monastery. There was some heavy metal band filming a video in the ruins of the church. There were all these art and technology programs for kids. You know, just all kinds of people from all over the place there. And it was off the highway in a town I wouldn't have expected much from. And there was no way I would have known about it ahead of time. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have a way to search for cool things in Winnipeg or anything like that at that time. So, but what happened was I was still resistant to staying there because I had in mind this schedule I was trying to keep to. You know, in hitchhiking with a schedule, how absurd is that? But it took me probably 2 hours to just let go of this grumbling, sort of acting like an asshole attitude. And once I did, I had just an amazing, beautiful time. And I let go of the timeline. I wasn't trying as fast, you know, to get to Minneapolis and these other experiences I was trying to create or trying to get to in my head, okay? Now that happened millions of times, not literally millions, but you get my drift. Happened a lot of times while out hitchhiking, that suddenly something I didn't expect and wasn't looking for became more fun, more engaging, more exciting, and more adventurous than my expectations and my plans, okay? My expectations and my plans were not as fun as the thing that seemed to get in their way. And yet, I sat and clung to my ideas in the midst of a beautiful paradise experience in order to adhere to the tradition of having plans and needing to stick to them in that way. Okay? So that's another way that undoing can help in your life to allow you to experience, you know, enjoyable and fun events. Okay, so now I see a comment from Anthony, the questions only format is somewhat limiting compared to having a chat flowing. Okay, yeah, and this is the first time we're doing this, so I would like to enable the chat. Let me see how we get to let you guys in on the chat. Let's see, users. Okay, that's weird, yeah, because it says I am the only member of the video call. Let me see if I can try and invite you guys on. I didn't even understand how that works. Okay, so let's invite you guys to the call. And Brendan. Let's see how that works. Okay, invitation posted. Yeah, my apologies. I thought you guys would all be able to use the chat, and I'm checking on the questions here. But yeah, that would be nice. What Brendan said here also, enormous amounts of energy from the session today. What I've experienced with undoing is that the changes happen without me having to initiate them. The effort is in doing the exercises. So that's a really interesting point to make too. And one that's hard to let your ego or your mind come to grips with. All right? Changes happen automatically and effortlessly and open up into beautiful experiences in your life when you learn to let go of your expectations of what's supposed to be going on. And the way to do that is physically. So the thing you do is things like the face stretches that we did together. Okay, you do the face stretches in order to break apart the tensions and stop adhering to your traditional expectations of what's supposed to be going on. That's when things get really cool. Okay, and maybe you'll just have to trust me on that, but I know everyone watching this, probably if you think about your life, you've had an experience where you could describe as a flowing experience. You were fully engaged with what's going on. You knew how and why everything fit together and made perfect sense to you, and you knew that you belonged in that. Okay, there was no separation between you and that flowing experience. And when you step into that, that's when what is becomes more vivid, and then your ideas and the news reports and the politics and all this other stuff that weighs down our minds gets shrugged off, and then your experience takes precedence. Okay, you become the actual hero of your life. How and why? Hey there, Brendan. If you have a headset or a mic, like just headphones for the audio, that would be perfect. But let me go ahead and mute the mic for now. There we go. Okay, but we can still see you on there. So if you have, if anyone who wants to get on the call, just go ahead and type into the questions, and I will add you to the call if you want to be live asking questions. And the next time we do this hangout, we'll do another one of these, probably later on this week or else next weekend. And as I mentioned in the email, I'm putting the intensives off until May 10th start date, Saturday, May 10th. We'll get started on the next round of Radical Undoing Intensive. So maybe we can talk with Brendan a little bit about that. But yeah, any of you guys who want to get on the call, just grab a headset of some kind, and that'll make it so there's no feedback loops when we have a bunch of us on the videos. Okay, and next time I will make sure I invite you guys to the call proper, which I was unaware of, this being the first time doing the Google Hangouts. So we will rectify that next time. But thankfully we got a few of you able to be on anyway. Okay, so concept number 2 is things only appear to stagnate. Stagnation is not real. It's just a lie that you cling to. So the exercise we can do here to illustrate this point and to give you an actual experience of it is the shoulders to ears, which I've also called Atlas Shrugged for hopefully obvious reasons. The way this exercise works is you just bring your shoulders up to your ears as tightly as you can and hold them in place while you continue breathing. So you may want to put your feet flat on the floor. Keep on breathing. There we go. I think I can hear you now, Brendan, right? Yeah. Then you can hear me, and there's not a feedback loop. Sounds great. Cool. So yeah, we're just pulling the shoulders up to your ears. And you probably did this earlier today, right? Before your session, I'd imagine, Brendan.
Yeah.
So I pull the shoulders up, hold them for a full minute, and I'll make sure I hold them for a full minute so those of you watching on video later on can just do this along with the video. Now, it makes you look kind of funny. Actually, it looks like, we saw that movie Jodorowsky's Daun the other day, and they show H.R. Giger, or Giger, or however you want to pronounce it, and the guy kind of looks like this, like, I worked on the film. Yeah, no, he seems like a great guy, and I actually love his art, but I never knew that he was like a piece of his own art. Such an interesting way. Have you seen him, Brendan?
Giger?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's totally very much a part of his art.
Yeah, interesting dude.
Yeah.
Definitely enjoy the artwork. All right, so pulling the shoulders up even further, coming aware of the body, breathing throughout, just like we did with the face stretches, and then full breath in. Say twist the shoulders down. A couple deep breaths and become aware of what's going on in your body. All right. So how are you doing, Brendan? I know you put some stuff in the questions, but let's just talk about it organically. So you fell asleep after the session today?
Yeah, not right after. I wanted to go for a walk afterwards, and but I was feeling very tired, so I took a long nap, and it was tough to articulate just how strange that dream was, but it wasn't long, so I could recap the finer details. But I was sent out to buy some dogs making funny noises.
I thought maybe that was the gorilla coming back.
I was sent out to buy some alcohol, and I went to the liquor store, and I don't really drink or know a lot about different types of alcohol, so I was feeling a bit pressured because it was going to be for other people. And I just grabbed this case that was on the counter. It was sort of like one of those things that has the liquor and then some shot glasses in it. And, some mix. And I thought, this is kind of cheesy, but I don't know what to get. So I'll just grab this, and I brought it over, put it on the counter, and the woman working behind the counter rung up the total, and I don't understand what I did, but maybe I was going to pull out cash, but I just pulled out this big knife from my, like it was maybe in my shirt, my coat, or my pants or something, and I just pull out the knife and accidentally slice her very deeply in her stomach. Wow. And it's just shocking. And so I get on my phone and I call 911. And the guy who answers it's more like I've reached some business or a telemarketing. He's like, good evening, 911, how can I help you? It was very, very, very casual. And I'm trying to explain what has happened, and I don't quite understand what has happened, but this woman's dying. And I just start calm, and then I just sort of turn into this like babbling child. I just can't keep it together. I'm just sobbing, and the guy on the phone is kind of laughing at me, and he's kind of insulting me. He's like, you sound like a child. Are you a man, or are you like, get a hold of yourself? And and I said, yeah, I guess I'm just in shock. This is really awful. So he's okay. Well, we'll send an ambulance. And in the meantime, I'm distracted by something, but I guess myself and a couple other people grabbed this woman, and we put her into a delivery truck. And someone else is in charge of what's going on, and they're saying that it's going to take too long to get her for the ambulance to arrive, so we're going to drive halfway and meet them. And we drive to this meeting place, and suddenly the dream turns into some sort of military operation where I'm with these super aggressive military guys, and they're like, okay, we're gonna send her in there, and they've decided that they've just to avoid the problem of having to deal with me stabbing her, it would be easier to strap a bunch of explosives to her and sort of toss her into this group of gorillas. And we're in the
Jeez.
the rainforest now, or someplace like that. We're kind of in this clearing, but we can see the trees. So the whole time I'm thinking, this is not the best plan, you know. And so they just toss her in with all these explosives strapped to her, and there's this giant explosion, and all I see is a stretcher, go flying, and I'm just thinking there's a big gorilla in there, and he's gonna be really pissed, and so I head back to the van, this white van that we were driving, and I'm carrying all this heavy gear, and I can't. My dog likes this. Go. Carrying all this heavy equipment, and I can't get out of there fast enough, and I turn around and I see this massive, angry, frothing gorilla just sprinting across this sort of cleared area, and quite magnificent, just the way it was moving, and like beautiful, but absolutely terrifying. And I'm just thinking, oh shit, I really got to move. But again, I'm carrying all this stuff, and I get to the van, and my crew is behind me, and I'm thinking, okay, there's probably a couple of guys that are going to get grabbed by this gorilla, but I can make it into the van in time. And just as I'm going for the handle, I turn around, and the gorilla's gone, and everyone's just hanging out talking, and everything is calmed down, and then I woke up. So there you go.
Well, one of the cool things about the undoing dreams, or the dreams that happen after undoing sessions, or once you've begun doing the work rather consistently, is that you can think of the dreams as sort of the end of a process. You know what I mean, or the letting go, or the movement out of certain things, the working out of certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So sort of like how sleeping and then your muscles repairing after working out at the gym, sort of the final process happens in your sleep. Same way with the dreams after undoing. It just starts to work things out rather than non-undoing dreams where it could be something that's expressing itself as a desire to be worked out, or a need to feel worked out, or to get worked out in a way that's not in your awareness as much. So usually the undoing type dreams will have a different quality.
Yeah.
But they're not necessarily something you have to act on. But that said, if you keep track of the undoing dreams and write them down, just sort of the texture and the feeling and the experiences you remember from them, over time you can look at those journals and then see patterns. And then the patterns that you see will be greater than any of the content in any of the specific dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So dream interpretation can be a fun thing to do. It's probably more relevant if you do it for your own dreams, just based on what you feel. But then even so, it's not necessary really to interpret them as much as it is, keep track, and then over time look at how they, look at if any patterns develop.
Mm-hmm.
That can kind of become obvious, rather than thinking, this means that in a specific and reliable way. It doesn't matter so much what it means, it's just sort of what are the impressions you get when you look at it over time.
Yeah, I would think the overall feel of the dream, not necessarily the details. The details are entertaining, but that's more personal, just how I process stuff, I guess. But the overall feeling of the dream felt more like, what you were saying. It's a chance to integrate stuff that was going on in the session, and I don't know, hilarious dream, but.
Yeah. Yeah, I love even the most extreme of dreams. I mean, what a chance to experience something, like an immersive film or TV show that's designed personally for you.
Yeah.
I suppose anything you actually enjoy reading or consuming has been designed personally for you on some level, or you wouldn't relate to it. But yeah. So. Yeah, we're all the stars of our own reality TV show, and then just act like extras in our own lives. That's the sort of funny thing, but no need for that. Yeah, that's something interesting, and I don't know if I'm communicating it properly or not, but the one effect of undoing that I think might be the most important thing is that it puts your experience and the field of your observation and your experience in the primary position. You know what I mean? And then the stories, the ideas, the politics, anything else you happen to get involved in as a character, then is secondary. You know what I mean? So the flow and the texture of your actual experience or of what is primary. It becomes primary. Mm-hmm. And then all the stories, all the TV shows, all the politics, all the ideas and expectations and goals and all this other stuff and plans and everything becomes secondary. And stories we've heard from other people, history books, science, and by science I mean science articles. I don't mean you testing hypotheses, okay? What most people mean when they say, well, science is this, whatever articles they happen to have read on the Facebook wall that said someone did a study on something that proved something else, you know what I mean? But it doesn't mean they've necessarily conducted any studies.
Right, yeah.
So when we say science, I'm referring to that aspect of science rather than what we're talking about here. You could say, okay, well, I gave you a premise for an exercise, how to get more relaxed and shrug off some of your worries and pull your shoulders up. Then you can try that and experiment with it. That would be like the scientific method, let's say. Are you using your own reason to observe and experiment with what is in your life, the things you have to experiment with, your body? So I'm doing kind of, for some reason, puts your life back into the throne, you know what I mean? Makes your direct experience primary. Even though it's so easy to think about these movie stars or other characters or people that seem so much larger than life, and then thinking that somehow it's important to live up to whatever, ideas and expectations we've developed in order to get recognized and validated by people outside of us, when your story and yourself and your life needs no validation, and it can't ever be validated from the outside anyway.
Yeah.
That's just like being pet, it feels good, but then you're going to want to be pet again right away, like sort of a needy dog, and that's kind of what we end up making ourselves, is becoming slaves to getting strokes and validations from outside. But they're never deeply satisfying in the long run. Whereas to me, an awareness of what is and then experimenting and exploring from that perspective is deeply satisfying, and it's always deeply satisfying whenever I become aware of it. The only thing that happens is you get knocked out of awareness into some various meaning or complicated situation that you've convinced yourself you have to figure out. I mean, there's nothing to figure out. You just become aware again and start doing what it is you feel moved to do. But as we all know, that's the big conflict that is the reason behind doing these physical exercises, to break apart your tensions and stop living habitually. So, as much as you can talk through it and make fun of it, it still seems to occur on a rather consistent basis for folks. So that brings me to the third concept I wanted to bring up today, which was that worry is a ridiculous lie. I'm going to be doing a blog post about that too. I think it's worthy of exploring in a little more depth. But I was thinking about that today, that worry, if you worry about something, well, I worry about, whatever, your bills or the monthly sort of obligations or any other situation in your life. And then you could think, well, okay, if you don't pay the rent this month, then maybe you get thrown out. And if you get thrown out, now you might have a harder time getting another place, and you have to live outside, and it might be raining. And what are you going to eat, and what are people going to think of you? And there's all these things, and so we're mapping out a future in what is, in a present moment, instead of being aware and doing things with the tools you have, your hands and other various tools, obviously computers and different things. But doing what you can in the field of your actual experience. What worry is an activity taking place in your life that takes up energy and awareness, takes awareness off the body and then into a fantasy of loss and lack in the future. So worry, or pain, an idea of pain, and then a fear of that pain, and then the running through our heads what that is. So it doesn't mean not being aware of what's going on, or maybe a threat that might come your way, but if a threat that is coming your way is actually threatening your life, don't worry about it. You're going to be aware of that occurring, and you'll be able to take action on it when it happens. Like the disaster.
My animals they're trying to kill me. Yeah, hold on.
That's okay. Here, I'll mute it for right now. We'll give me a wave if we. Okay, so we'll mute the Brendan and the beasts. But yeah, as we go through the broadcast, what I'm saying now is that worry is just another activity among many. So I could worry right now about the noise that just occurred, or about what's happening for Brendan, and then worry about how that affects people's perception of us, or what's going on, all these different things. But worry is just another activity that's a complete waste of your time, complete waste of your life energy. There's it's just an activity of imagination that can trick you into taking actions that will help you to reaffirm and create an experience that'll match up with the thing that you're worrying about. Okay, so that's kind of the disaster of it. And I'm not saying that in sort of a new age way, like you're going to pop what you're worrying into your reality. What I'm saying is you will condition your awareness and your tools of observation to only see and acknowledge things in your experience that reaffirm your expectation of it. Okay, so that's how you can make yourself miserable even in the midst of a paradise. You can just find something to be upset about that matches up with your worried expectation that you had ahead of time. Okay, so by acknowledging that worry is a ridiculous lie, next time you find yourself worrying, you can then do something about it. Acknowledge that you're lying to yourself, for one, and then start to let it go. How do you do that? By doing some physical exercises like the undoing exercises that don't have a purpose in that way, but just give you something to do, to put effort toward, that will stop you from putting effort towards worrying, towards being afraid, towards maintaining the idea that you're uncomfortable or upset, and then also open up more pathways of communication between your mind and your body, between your conscious mind and unconscious mind, and between various parts of your brain, okay? Or whatever model works for you. And then the more observation, the more aware you become of what's actually going on, and the more options you have to enjoy and take part in your experience, all right? So it's kind of as simple as that. Now, what's a tool that you can use if you're worried? One of the tools is called What's Going to Happen to Me. But I'm going to go ahead and pause for one moment and make sure that I've unlocked the door for my partner. So one moment. And alas, I had not unlocked it, so that was good that I handled that sudden interjection, even though we're in the middle of a hangout. Hopefully that's what you guys would do too. So the tool that we use to handle worry is called What's Going to Happen to Me. And I'll do it here just sitting down, but normally you would pace around the room at the same time. And the way that works is you get yourself really worked up into a state of worry, like, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? What if this call is no good? What if I'm no good? What's going to happen? What if I don't make it through? Oh my God, what's going to happen to me? What is going to happen to me? Oh my God, I am so worried. What is going to happen to me? You can get kind of upset and afraid and worried and really work yourself up into it. Use your face, use your body. And take a breath while you're doing it. Now normally what we would do is set a timer for 5 minutes, and alternate between that what's going to happen, that really worried state where you're pacing around, and then switch it to, I love it. I am so excited. Oh, yes, I love it. Woo! And just get yourself worked up into that state. Have a good time. Get excited. Have some anticipation of anything that you're excited about. Even if you have to make something up, just step into that state. Oh, yes. All right. I'm so stoked. Really nailed it this time. You know, just work up that state. Feel what it's like to organically elicit that state in your body and in your awareness. Then switch back. Oh, my God. What's going to happen to me? What is going to happen to me? What if I fail? What if I do something wrong? Oh my God, what is going to happen to me? What's going to happen to me? What the fuck is going to happen to me? I just can't take it. I don't know what's going to happen. Oh my God. And then take a breath. Go back to feeling excited. Yes, I'm stoked. This is so fucking beautiful. Yes, that is awesome. Really nailed it this time. You know? So work yourself back and forth into the worried state and then to the excited anticipation state, and see what happens for you. Like I said, set a timer for 5 minutes. Again, I'd like to urge you, if you're watching this on video and you get an idea or an inspiration to do these exercises, do them right now. Okay, could have done that one along with me. Get up, pace around the room and do it. And then you can also, if you're watching this on video, just pause the video, stand up, set a timer for 5 minutes, and do the exercise. Okay, that's how you get the real primary experience rather than just the idea of what the exercise might be like. Another trick that your mind can play on you is by convincing you to do the exercise later. So you'll say, well, I don't want to do it right now. There's people around. I don't want to stretch my face. I don't want to pace around, act worried. Okay, maybe you are in a situation where that wouldn't be the right idea. Maybe you're on the bus or something. Okay, and watching this on your phone or something like that. In that case, send yourself a reminder. Say, I'm going to do this exercise, and put a time on it. You know, put it on a calendar or something like that. And that way you've integrated it into the fabric of your life rather than just an idea you had that passes and then you never do it and never get the benefits from doing it. All right, so give that a shot. Now the next concept, as we edge closer and closer to the end of this experience together, is concept number 4, the future is unwritten. Just like I didn't know how this call would go, and you don't know what's going to happen next in your day, whatever happens after you're done watching this, it's open-ended. Okay, it might be seem rather predictable, but as you know, the entire future is unwritten. We don't know what's going to happen next, and by that definition, that means our lives are an adventure. Since you never really know for sure what's going to happen next, your life, when you allow that into your awareness, your life becomes an extended and endless adventure. So that's concept number 4. So the idea is if the future is unwritten, then stop predicting your future based on memories you have of the past. Okay, and we said there also see number 3, which is worry is a ridiculous lie. Why is worry a ridiculous lie? Because you are engaging in emotional reactions to imagined catastrophes in your future, which the future is unwritten, and if you look at it for yourself, you'll see that to be true, and you'll know that to be true by looking back and exploring your past experiences, even ones where you experience sort of self-fulfilling prophecies. You'll be able to see how you did that, okay, and how your tensions and your imagined limitations restricted your ability to observe the entirety of what is, and instead only allow into your awareness things that prove your ideas that you and your expectations of being limited, okay, and of experiencing something that you don't want to experience. So that leads us to tool number 4, which is breaking the permanence addiction, or we could call this exercise fading away. And the nature of this exercise, tool number 4, is a real way to look to the future as opposed to worry, which I've already called a ridiculous lie. So tool number 4, breaking the permanence addiction, fading away. All you do with this is just spend time looking at everything around you, observing everything in your awareness, including everything you believe that you have, so items that you have, things, objects, also everyone you know, everyone you expect to continue to be in your life, and then everything you feel and think, especially about yourself, but also about your experience. Become aware of all those things, but also add to that awareness, add to that observation, the sense of, get a real sense of those things fading away. Okay, so as you know, the older you are, the more experiences you have, there's going to be a time when the people you have known in your life, that the number of them is greater than the ones that you currently know. And what that can tell you is that everyone you know currently will also fade out of your life, whether it happens sooner or later. That is bound to happen. Okay, I'll allow the fact that maybe there'll be some changes if Google is successful with their immortality project, then maybe they'll prove me a liar here. But for now, from what I can tell, everything and everyone we know does eventually seem to fade out of our experience. So what you want to do with this exercise is look around and see that fading away in everything. Okay? You can see that in flowers, the way things change. And if you do this exercise every day, you'll become more aware of the flow of your life as opposed to your rigid ideas and interpretations of your life. So it can be a little daunting and scary to become aware of that. So you just do it for 5 minutes a day and then let go of it. But eventually it'll start to dawn on you that it's another stable, reliable thing you can focus on, the sense of things fading away. So you pay attention to what is, and also know that the contents of what is are always flowing, changing, coming and going, eventually fading away. But do that exercise for yourself and experience, you're going to need to get the experience of it rather than just think about what that exercise would mean. So by actually doing it, just like with all the other exercises, that's where you get the primary experience. And that's what we're talking about. The cool thing is that the exercises themselves also break apart your habitual ways of ignoring what's going on and then make your experience the primary thing in your life. So the concept number 5, and of course share anything you'd like, Brendan, as we go through this, and maybe we'll talk just for a moment about the intensives at the end. But concept number 5 is that life is a process and an experience. It flows. It's flowing all the time. It doesn't sit still. And you can process your experiences to expand your awareness or your perception, okay, to remove limitations, which limitations, again, are just rigid, traditional expectations you have for yourself and for the future. Okay, it's just it. It's ideas about what's going to be possible tomorrow, rather than looking at what's actually possible now and then engaging with it in that way. So it's a false sense of rigidity and stability, but in order to reify that, or to make it seem real, then we have physical tensions that lock those into place, those ideas, those limitations, and then that gives us a sense of who we are. So you could almost think who you think you are is actually a collection of physical tensions in your body. Okay, that's why it's kind of hard to let them go, because we get attached to believing that's who and what we are, and it's hard to let go of it. And then other people help reaffirm. We all reaffirm that for each other, keep ourselves into this like almost set concrete throughout our lives. But thankfully it's more malleable than it seems, and doing the undoing process helps to make it even more so. So tool number 5 to go along with that is just another sitting still exercise, and you just sit still and watch your life flow. You just sit there and watch your thoughts and all else that's going on. So for example, tonight while we've been doing the workshop, I'm sitting here being aware of what's going on in my body, trying to be aware of how it's all flowing together, paying attention to the breathing, and then noticing just a little bit greater awareness about what's going on in the space and outside the window. So noticing the cars driving by, the people walking by, just the rain, the sun, which turned to rain, which turned to hail, and it was fun to watch that change with the exercises. And then it changed back to rain, and then it changed back to sun, and now all the hail and all that stuff has melted, and and then the people started walking again. So there's just been an interesting flow happening outside that would have been equally interesting to just sit here and watch for an hour or two. So the same way you might watch a giant, beautiful waterfall, you can start to get a sense for what's going on in your life in that same way. It's always picturesque, it's always pretty, and fun to watch, even if only subtle things about it are changing. And by doing that, you'll develop a new way of looking at your own life, okay, as a flow, as a picture that's in motion. And then in so doing, it'll just become a lot more beautiful and fun, and then the things that you want to do will become more evident, just simply because you're not obsessing over fears and worries and expectations about how things are supposed to be and then feeling let down by it all. So anything you want to say in response to that, Brendan? Are there any experiences in your life that relate?
It's snowing here. Well,
oh, it's snowing.
Well, when it started hailing there, it started snowing here.
Ah, so it's a slice we're all taking part in, I suppose. Well, that's interesting because earlier today you had mentioned I had asked if it was all the snow had melted.
Yeah.
And you said yes. Thankfully, it's all melted, and then now
it's snowing.
Reasserts itself. So
yeah,
that can happen. That's great.
Yeah.
But it's a constant flow. So
yeah. Were you asking specifically about the intensives?
Oh, no, I was just talking about the concept or the tool in general, sitting still, watching your life flow. But yeah, we can talk about the intensives. Yeah, anything you'd care to share, really. I was doing this Q&A just for, and I didn't even, now I'm realizing I didn't even know how to invite everybody to the chat, so next time we do this, it'll even be more engaging for you guys watching. But in any case, still provide a little video that yeah, anything you want to say about your experience of the intensives, or in terms of some of the concepts or tools that were brought up tonight. But then in the intensives, you end up using a lot of these tools every day, and then by returning to a new lesson each day, a new set of experiences that you can have in the day, then you hopefully over the course of the entire intensives, certain of the concepts and tools start to become more embedded, and maybe different awarenesses start to dawn. That we aren't getting at completely in literally, in the writing, but that start to dawn cumulatively over the experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I may have mentioned this before, and I always feel like I absorb things a bit slowly, but that also makes me realize the difference between absorbing something intellectually and giving your body time to react and learn from things, but really react. What I said in the comments about thinking that, looking at something I want to change in my life and setting a goal and saying, okay, this is going to take a lot of effort, and or not. Maybe that's looking at something I'd like to change and thinking, how am I going to do that? That just seems impossible. Say if it's a habit, something that's really embedded in my behavior that just seems, like a monumental amount of effort. Often those things have changed just from doing the exercises, and that suddenly I saw that, that effort was not required and not what I thought. The change just seems to happen, or the best way I can describe it is my body kind of takes over and just does the things that it needs to do. It's got this way of doing that. But with the intensives, from doing those exercises, not just reading about them, I feel like that was a way for me to absorb these things, and I'm still going through the last set of it. Like that 4 weeks seemed to, once the course was over, I kind of went through each week again without intending to. And maybe it wasn't a week, maybe it was 10 days or once in 12 days another, but I feel like in a way I'm kind of going through maybe the third week right now, or wrapping up the third week. And I just see that from noticing my behavior and my thoughts and my perceptions on life. But so I'm really looking forward to this second round, see what happens.
Yeah, I think almost the second. It's fun. It's funny because I want it to be an unexpected experience, so a little bit adventurous, where you just see what there is to do that day. Each day you wake up, you get online, check and see what there is to do that day. The same way you get on and check your texts or check your email or whatever. You log on, see what the new mission is for the day, and it's usually some physical exercises that are consistent by the week. And then, so you do the same set of physical exercises for the first week, then we change those up, do the second set for the second week, and so on. And they correlate with different body areas, but that also correlates with different types of experience. And so the first week being eyes and face gives you more clarity on all kinds of situations in your life, and there's some adventures and concepts related to that. But then also being able to schedule this stuff in, because I know for some folks it's the second time around, you know what's in store, and you'll be able to maybe plan ahead and set the stage for certain experiences. But also what can happen by seeing them ahead of time, it's easy to let your mind dodge the experience. But then again, so it's a tough choice. Do you open it all at once, let people see what's there and plan for it, put it into their schedule, which can be necessary for some of the more engaging adventures, or does that make it easier to not do? Because there's some of the adventures, of course, you're going to have be uncomfortable. It's not called radical. I'm doing it intensive because it's going to be the easiest experience in your life. You know, the whole point is to move way outside of your comfort zone until you realize your comfort zone is uncomfortable, and letting go of it is the deeper satisfaction and comfort you can find. You know, real stability and solidity, rather than the fake imagined safety and stability. Like I mentioned earlier in the call, it's like our comfort zone is like setting up a tent in a battlefield. People are shooting at each other and pretending that because you can't see what's going on in the tent, and it's nice and warm in there, that you're out of the field of battle, you know. But no, it's actually becoming aware of what's really going on, getting out of the tent and getting out of the battlefield. That's going to protect you in that case. And the battlefield essentially being, bombardments from you versus yourself in your own mind. General shooting concepts, ideas, expectations, and things ideals you're supposed to live up to. In the partner that's not doing so. Fighting it out. So setting those things aside and getting off the battlefield, and getting out of the comfort zone. So that's the thing. People say, "Oh, I want to change my life," and then I go outside the comfort. That's so less in the way that life change happens. Stop moving to the comfort zone. Then your life changes effortlessly. Because that's what happens. Just like the life plan changes. Life already changes. It's just not taking part in it and enjoying it.
I don't know if this is coming through on the for the other people watching. I'm getting your future biomechanical self voice.
Oh yes, funny thing. Yeah. Let me try this. And Mike can do that at the time, like after an hour.
Can't hear you.
Okay, now you should be able to hear me. I bet you got yeah?
Yeah.
So the mic, for some reason, every hour and a half, I think that the mic does something occurs in the mic where it decides to go into the robotic, futuristic voice. Yeah, it only allows 1 hour and a half of consistent communication. So everything I have to communicate can only happen in 90-minute chunks.
It's a good challenge.
Without taking a break and unplugging it. Yeah, so that's how it's going to be. But if you can't communicate it in 90 minutes, then it's either rocket science or shouldn't be communicated. Let's just leave it at that. That's the lesson from the microphone. No, anyhow, well, yeah, thanks for joining in on the call. I'm going to do another one of these, and it'll be a lot more now that I've dove into the waters. For some reason, this is how I tend to learn things the best, is by diving in, trying them, and then making adjustments the next time. So it's been a lot of fun hanging out, and at least we got us on the call. We got a nice video out of it, and folks can try out some undoing exercises and concepts and dive in a little bit, and hopefully it gives you guys a taste of what there is in store when you work with Command Z and do sessions with myself. And then there's also guided audios, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of fun adventures you can dive into to change your life, to learn about meditation, to get the results you wanted from other things but that were only imaginary. That's the kind of stuff you can find here. So I invite you to dive into those experiences, and wherever you see this video, there'll be a link to the intensives. And for those of you watching the video, we're going to do another one of these hangouts in about a week. So right around the weekend of May 3rd, we'll be doing another one of these, and then starting another round of intensives on May 10th. So look forward to that, and thanks everybody for dropping in. And nice to see you, Brendan. Glad to be able to catch up twice in a day here.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks, Garrett.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Have fun.
Take care.